All right. There has been so many different beliefs around soulmates and twin flames in the spiritual community, and I have never been satisfied with what is out there. I'm about to give you some information, and I just ask that you chew the meat and spit out the bones. Not everything will probably resonate, but thus far on this journey, this is like the most appropriate and well researched information that I have found on the internet and across YouTube alike on the subject matter. I'm going to go ahead and let you look at the video from Brian Scott. He is someone that I listen to from time to time. Honestly, he keeps me in my highest vibrations. There are different concepts that he talks about. He reads audibly, books from sages like Neville Goddard, Ernest Holmes, D. Waddles, just to name a few. But anyway, he's talking about soulmates versus twin flames. And I guess I can just say the etymology of it. So let's go ahead and listen to what Brian has to say. Thank you so much for your time. For those of you that are on your spiritual journey and you're trying to figure out whether you're with your soulmate or a twin flame, Brian spells it out just so perfectly. And like I said, this is the most accurate. There are some things or certain things that he said that, didn't resonate with me. Like, everyone is your twin flame. I don't believe that. But speaking about twin flame, Brian's calling me now. All right, you guys, to the video.
Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. I'm doing my first episode today on twin flames and soulmates. It's taken me over 700 episodes to this point to do an episode on this topic. Part of the reason I have avoided it is, as I read the spiritual community, I believe that many people are really dug in on this. It's really amazing. There are so many twin flame coaches out there. It is a very intense subject, and people are really, really dug in with their opinions about this. I personally see a lot of obsession, and I was not aware of it until I started coaching and receiving messages from people that follow the podcast requesting help finding their twin flame. A lot of these interactions involved people that already knew that they had a twin flame. They were insistent on it. Any sort of idea that I would give them that perhaps this person is not a twin flame was opposed immediately. And I found it difficult to almost impossible to really talk to someone about this. In 90% of the interactions I've had with people claiming a twin flame relationship or wanting to find a twin flame relationship, I have found a deep obsession that seemed on its face to be somewhat unhealthy. Obviously, one of the greatest things that you can experience is a deep, close, connected love It is something that we all dream about and crave deep down, because there's a part of us that craves that deep love that we remember from the Creator. And it's a fantasy that many of us have, to find that perfect love. I'm telling you it's possible, but I'm going to tell you something that you may not agree with. In my own opinion, I believe it's possible for us to be soulmates with everyone. We have discussed in many episodes, including Neville Goddard and the Law of One, the idea that everybody is you pushed out, that everybody is you, that we are all one. If that is true, then everybody is your soulmate. Everybody can be your twin flame. There is a belief that there's only one soulmate or one twin flame out there, that in many cases has really restricted and limited people from finding their true love. I've had some very unique examples that I can give you. For instance, one girl that was obsessed with what she claimed was her twin flame. Anytime I would discuss anything with twin flames, proposing any alternative, she would immediately tell me that I was wrong. It reminds me very much of discussions I've had with people about politics, where you look for information to confirm what you believe. Obviously, this is such an intense topic. The sheer number of people that talk about twin flames, that make twin flames their primary focus, is amazing. So what I've done with this episode is to bring some new information that I have found about twin flames by looking at resources such as Quo and Sal Rochelle, among others, and give you some additional information that you can possibly use to help you decide if you're with your twin flame, if there is such a thing as twin flames, and then you can use this information to decide for yourself. I have learned the hard way. It's impossible to change someone's opinion. You will change it for yourself, and you will make your own decision on this topic. But you must acknowledge that you have a deep desire to be truly loved. It's a craving that we all have, and that you're being guided by that desire. And what a wonderful thing to meet somebody that would be your twin flame. What a wonderful thing. I believe that you can meet the love of your dreams. And I believe that there are many different versions of this love available to you. That love is abundant all around us. As Neville Goddard says, we are all one. You will find your love if you look for it. And it's not just in one person. And if you've used the words my twin recently, how do you know for sure? What tells you that this person that you've identified as your twin? Now, the interesting side note for the person that I was working with that claimed a twin flame relationship, that was married to someone else, openly told their husband, hey, I got a twin flame. Sorry about that. And then it turns out, after they looked into it further, that the person they thought was a twin flame was actually a reincarnation of someone that had killed them. Obviously, that's a very intense relationship, and that person came back to make things right. So there's a deep soul-like connection. And what you may think is your twin flame is somebody that you've connected with in another life. It could be a negative, whatever it is. You feel connections with people all the time. If you reach a point in your understanding of love where you see that everybody is your soulmate and everybody is your twin flame, it will change the way you look at the world. But let's look at what some of these sources that I discussed have to say about it. In the Quo material, they ask Quo, can you tell me the concept of soulmates? Quo says, I am Latwii and I am aware of your query, my brother. We find that this is a term that is most popular among many of those who seek the nature of truth among your peoples at this time. Yet it is a term which has been somewhat misused, shall we say. In its most common usage, we find that the term of soulmates is reserved for those entities within your third density illusion who have from incarnation to incarnation journeyed together and found the seeking of truth to be enhanced by joining in repeated incarnations in order that lessons begun and carried on at one time may be completed, as you might say, at yet another time. Those of the nature of soulmates may be many in number, not just two, and may be of many sexual natures in order there may be the variety of the interaction between various entities in various incarnations. Question: there's also the term twin flames. Is that also soulmates, or is this a different form of incarnation? I am Latwi, who is a part of Quo, and we believe that we might best answer this question by suggesting that the term twin flames is a term which is somewhat more specific in its use. Entities who are of this nature are, shall we say, somewhat more closely connected in the nature of their being and in the nature of their seeking. The entities will have found their individualization of consciousness as having sprung from the same root, shall we say. This is a concept which is somewhat difficult to explain in terms of your language. However, we shall attempt such. The origin of the individualized nature of these entities is an origin which in many cases brings forth only one individualized portion of consciousness and sends it forth that it might gain further experience and continue through the process of evolution thusly. The twin flame concept springs from the dual aspect of the consciousness foci, which then have the same origin within what you might call the upper levels of the second density pool of consciousness. Thus, the entities who might fall within the designation of twin flame are somewhat like the Siamese twins that are the rare occurrence within your own illusion. Question: is there any way that one can tell if he has met his twin flame? I am Latwi, and am aware of your query, my brother. We find there are many ways one may know about the nature of another. In the case of which you speak, the recognition of such an entity would perhaps be first noticed in a certain unspoken feeling that is shared between the entities. The somewhat unconscious knowing of another might then expand in its expression to include what you may call the precognitive experience of another. That is to say, one may begin to anticipate the thoughts, words, and actions of the other before they occur. Within the meditative or perhaps dreaming state, one may discover certain experiences shared in other illusions, making themselves known in symbolic fashion. The entities may then, through continued interaction, become aware that there is more to their current experience than meets the eye, and this may then be pursued in what you may call the hypnotic regression, where the intent is to move into previous experiences in order to discover more of the shared experience, which is, shall we say, magnetically drawn to this current experience. I can say that in my own experience, my wife and I come from completely different backgrounds, but we've been together for a long time and share a deep love for each other, and at this point, we can definitely finish our thoughts, and I know what she's thinking all the time. She knows what I'm thinking. I think that's a common element of any relationship. I'm sure that there are levels to it. In another channeling, they ask if one person in particular is a twin flame or twin soul. And Quo has an interesting response saying, the query referring to the concept of twin souls is one which goes beyond this illusion and reaches into those timeless states where being is all and service is easy. We would suggest that these two souls indeed have found themselves within each other's hearts, and in this respect are twin flames of the heart energy, which expressing in a unique fashion that which is one and which has through their mutual expression become two. So in this particular description, it's a sharing of the heart energy, which does not necessarily mean that it's an exclusive experience to only one individual. I'm aware of all the stuff that all the videos say about twin flames and all the definitions, and I'm sure that you are too. So I don't necessarily want to repeat myself. I'm sure that a lot of you have already accessed that information as well. One of the best resources for a discussion of twin flames and soulmates is Sal Rochelle. Sal Rochelle is an amazing channeler who channels the founders and a number of other entities. Check out his book Soul Integration, where there is discussion of twin flames. In that particular book, Sal Rochelle explains that soulmates and twin flames are subjects that most of you have asked about at one time or another. You might think there is a simple answer to questions regarding soulmates and twin flames. But that is not the case. Relationships are the spice of life for the evolving soul, and if they were easy and simple, you would not continue to grow and evolve. You would not be challenged to go deeper within yourself and discover where you've been blocked, where you've been given away your power, and where you have fragmented yourself. The possible configurations of relationships are incredibly complex. The reasons for this will become clear once we differentiate between soul division and soul fragmentation. In the beginning, there was a God-Goddess, all that is, the sum total of all creation. The Creator desired to experience itself as individualized parts, and so it divided itself into many, many souls and other life forms. These parts were holographic imprints of the original Creator. In other words, they were not fragmented but wholly integrated souls emerging out of the Godhead. You can liken this to biological reproduction, where cells split and divide into separate organisms, which then become sovereign beings. These beings then separate and divide into more sovereign beings. In the case of souls, everything operates on a base 12 system, meaning the normal configuration of soul division is into groups of 12. Thinking of it this way, Mother, Father, God divided itself into 12 parts. These 12 parts divided themselves into 12 additional parts, making a total of 144. These 144 parts then each divided themselves into 12 additional parts, making a total of 1,728 parts. Each of you, as sovereign beings, are part of a group of 12 souls that were born out of a parent soul, which we call an oversoul. That means there are 12 souls who all have the same oversoul, who emerged from the same parent being. Note here, our use of the word parent is not to be confused with the parent part of the soul in the higher realms. From your level of differentiation, you have 5 levels above you and 6 lower bodies below you. Levels 7 through 12 involve soul division. If you look upward along your family tree or lineage until you reach 12, you find the original souls that emerged from the Godhead. Put another way, since your souls are level 7, there are 5 levels of soul above you, between you and the Godhead. You could reason then that there are 12 to the 5th power number of souls in the universe. This would not be correct, even though it makes perfect sense. As with most of creation, there are variations on a theme. Some souls currently existing on Earth have divided more times than other souls. It is possible for souls to divide without dropping down to the next level of vibration. You have direct lineage souls, where each time the souls divide, they drop 1 level in vibration. You also have a type of division that branches out within the same level. To keep things simple, we will not give separate names to these types of soul division. In the past, we may have implied that each division caused a drop of 1 level in vibration. While this may have been so initially near the beginning of soul individualization millions of years ago, it is no longer the case. For example, you might have 1,728 7th density souls who originated out of 144 7th density souls, who originated out of 12 7th density souls, who originated out of 1 8th density oversoul. The 8th density oversoul, known as Lord Sananda, the oversoul of Jesus, has divided 3 times. Now there are 1,728 souls who have Lord Sananda as their direct oversoul. This partially explains why so many souls identify with Jesus and even believe they were Jesus in one of their past lifetimes. If a soul has not divided between incarnations, you would say that you are a direct incarnation of the previous lifetime. If there has been a division, you would say that the being from a previous lifetime is in your direct lineage. In the case of Jesus, there are 1,728 souls who have Jesus in their direct lineage. Souls who divide and emerge from an oversoul are whole, complete, sovereign beings created as holographic images of the Creator. Just because they are born out of a higher order being does not make them any less a creation of God than the first beings who emerged out of the Godhead billions of years ago. due to the fact this is a difficult subject to explain in earthly languages. We're going to repeat what we said earlier. The souls that emerge out of the oversoul and the oversouls that emerge from the monad, and the monads that emerge from the Christic or Buddhic self, and the Christic or Buddhic selves that emerge from the individual God self, and the individual God selves that emerge from the universal God self are members of a direct soul lineage. Souls that emerge out of the oversoul are said to be members of the same soul family. Those 12 souls that emerge at the same time from the oversoul are said to be primary soul family members. Souls emerging from the same monad but from different oversouls are said to be secondary soul family members. Normally, there are 144 secondary soul family members, souls emerging from the same Christic or Buddhic self, but who emerge from different monads are said to be extended soul family members. Normally, there are 1,728 extended soul family members. In addition to your direct lineage, you can actually have other lineages depending on how the souls originally emerged. This can be a bit confusing to human minds that are used to the concept of a single family tree. In this case, souls can divide horizontally as well as vertically, meaning that the oversoul can divide into 12 souls more than once, and the 12 original souls who emerged from the oversoul can themselves divide 12 more times. This means you can have 144 souls originating from one oversoul. This process can be repeated a third time, meaning you can have 1,728 souls from a single oversoul. How and when do souls divide? If this division is vertical, meaning within a direct soul lineage, then the division happens when the oversoul, in conjunction with the Godhead, desires to expand itself outward in the universe. Because this is a free will universe, there is no preset time in which this takes place. It could happen once every million Earth years, or 10 million, or 100 million. If the division is horizontal, meaning that multiples of 12 souls originate from the same oversoul repeatedly, then this process will occur when the original 12 seventh density souls have reached a level 8 consciousness. You could say they are given the choice as to whether or not to remain single sovereign entities or divide themselves into 12 new souls. While this is not entirely accurate, it is close enough for now. Do not despair if this seems confusing. It will make more sense once you reach a level 7 consciousness. Essentially, we are planting seeds in your mind that will have meaning at a later time. Nevertheless, this discussion has some value at the present time as it acts like a catalyst to move you forward on your path. Differences between division and fragmentation. Soul fragmentation involves only the individual souls who have emerged out of the oversoul. Fragments are by definition not whole, complete, and sovereign souls. They are pieces of an individual soul that are broken off from the parent part of the soul for various reasons. If the reason for the fragmentation is so that the parent part of the soul can remain in the higher realms while the fragments go out and explore the lower realms, then this is said to be voluntary fragmentation. A fragment that embodies into human form to experience Earth or another lower density planet is called a primary fragment. If the fragments were split off from the parent part of the soul through trauma, intense, intimate relationships, violence, emotional attachment in families during the death of the physical body, or some other ego-based dynamic, then the fragments are said to be involuntary or secondary fragments. Soul fragments can travel through time, space, and other dimensions depending on the size and energetic matrix of each fragment and the purpose of the fragmentation. They can attach themselves to other parent souls or even other fragments belonging to different souls. There is no direct relationship between soul division and soul fragmentation. One does not tend to cause the other. Nevertheless, there are some similarities between the two. While soul divisions are complete holographic representations of the Creator as it differentiates down through the levels, soul fragments retain some holographic characteristics while lacking others. For example, fragments have a degree of consciousness. In other words, they are aware of themselves. In fact, because they belong to a parent part of the soul, they are linked to that part and have access to the knowledge, memories, and experiences of that part. They might even believe they are that part, especially if they have been brought up in a society that does not believe in the existence of extrasensory abilities or extraterrestrial lifetimes. If you believe your human self and ego personality is all there is, you might also believe that your primary soul fragment is all there is. You would then have a hard time believing that you are a vast, creative, spiritual being with a parental part in the heavens. Theoretically, soul fragments have access to the consciousness of other fragments belonging to the same parent part, but in practice, this awareness is rarely demonstrated. However, this means you can vacillate between various aspects of self, or in a sense, change personalities. What is actually occurring is that the ego/personality is changing its identification from one fragment of the soul to another. The ego/personality is an illusory construct and has no actual existence in the ultimate sense. However, the ego can identify with the primary soul fragment associated with the physical body, or it can identify with other secondary fragments. In a so-called normal human being, the ego identifies with the primary soul fragment embodied on Earth. Souls are capable of integrating their fragments at any time for any length of time. Temporary enlightenment experiences, satori, occur when various fragments of the soul align themselves with the parent part, or when the primary and secondary fragments become quiet enough to allow the ego personality to identify with the parent part of the soul, or when the ego personality diminishes itself sufficiently to allow the parent part of the soul to enter into the physical body more completely. A fully integrated soul will have a parent part directly in alignment with the primary fragment on Earth. The ego personality will be subordinate to the parent part and primary fragment. Think of those Russian dolls that are embedded within each other. The smallest doll is like the ego. The doll surrounding it represents the primary fragment, and the doll encompassing both of them symbolizes the parent part of the soul. There will also be a larger doll encompassing all three, which represents the oversoul, and a larger one, which represents the monad. Oversouls. Oversouls reside in the 8th density of creation, one level above the individual souls. Although individual souls seem to originally emerge from the Godhead at a level 7 of vibration, often called the home level, they actually emerged from a built-in lineage. From a linear perspective, you could say that they split off from the Godhead through 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, and 8th levels before experiencing themselves as 7th level beings. However, from a non-linear point of view, they emerged as level 7 beings and simultaneously divided from the higher levels in the manner described previously. We apologize for the difficulty in explaining soul division, since your earthly languages have no words to adequately describe the actual process. The best analogy we can use suggests that you are like the leaves on a tree. Your oversouls are like the smaller branches. Your monads are like the larger branches, all the way to the trunk of the tree, which is like your universal God self. Individual 7th density souls who have completed their journey into the lower worlds are free to evolve beyond level 7 into level 8. The realm of the oversoul, they will experience a sense of merging back into the oversoul. But in reality, they become their own oversouls and are now capable of birthing additional sets of individual souls. As these oversouls work their way up through the group soul complexes of the higher dimensions, their capabilities as creators become more and more vast and universal. When they reach level 12, they are called creator gods and are capable of birthing not only level 11 individual god selves, but entire universes, each with billions of galaxies. According to our teachers, the founders, there are over 100,000 creator gods who have created new universes. Some of them are similar to this universe and some are vastly different. As the founders have repeatedly stated, you are already whole, complete, 12-dimensional beings from a non-linear time perspective. Within linear time, you are 4th density beings working your way up through the various levels and dimensions of time and space. The potentiality of your 12th dimensional self lies far in the future from a linear perspective. but you are already a vast, whole, and complete being functioning in all 12 dimensions from the perspective of the eternal now. Therefore, you are already capable of creating the universe of which we speak. Let us bring you back down to the soul level, since there is much for you to understand before you can actualize your abilities as a creator God. As an evolving earthbound soul, your oversoul will seem to communicate in a manner similar to the one of your primary spirit guides. It might feel like you're in touch with an elder family member or wise being similar to your higher self. The oversoul gives birth to 6 twin flame pairs of individual souls. At the same time, there is a parent part of the oversoul that remains in the 8th density. You could say that each individual soul has the same 8th density self. These 12 souls are members of a group soul complex known as the oversoul. When do souls divide? What triggers soul division? These decisions are almost always made in the higher realms between the oversouls and their parent part, the monad. When it has been determined that the monad has learned all it can possibly learn from its present situation in relation to the lower worlds, and new experiences are desired, the monad then wills itself into divisions, which become oversouls in order to more fully experience the lower realms. When each oversoul desires a more intimate experience of the lower worlds, it divides into the 6 twin flame pairs of individual souls. Imagine having 12 arms instead of 2. You have a marvelous object analogous to the lower worlds that can only be understood if you feel it from 12 different angles. You have the ability to grow 12 arms right on the spot and begin exploring that object. If you've seen the deities of certain religions that have multiple arms, you should be able to visualize this. Each of these arms is now immersing itself in one aspect of the object being explored. Typically, one member of a twin flame pair will incarnate into the lower worlds, while the other member remains behind in the higher realms as a spirit guide to the incarnated soul. The decision for oversouls to divide may be triggered by the time in which a planet is immersed, such as Earth, at the end of one age and beginning of a new age. This partially explains why there are so many souls on Earth at the present time. Another reason the recent explosion in population is that a lot of beings from all over the universe wish to experience life on this planet during the shift because they are curious as to what is going to happen, or they feel called to assist those who are struggling. Group soul complexes. Individuality, as you know it, occurs throughout the first 7 levels of creation. In fact, your true essence is your individual 7th density soul. This is your spark of divinity that is there when you strip away all the levels and dimensions of outer reality. Beyond level 7, a very different progression of evolution takes place, one that is difficult to describe in earthly language. This is the primary reason there are so few teachers exploring this topic and writing about it. I've had a few references to the oversoul, such as in Jane Roberts' Seth material, and a few stories and narratives that mention the oversoul in passing. You have some channels who describe their entities as collectives or group soul complexes. We're going to take an in-depth look at group soul complexes at this time and hopefully shed some light on this mysterious topic. The main reason for the confusion is thus: your linear minds are used to thinking of reality in 3 levels, which we are going to call conformity, individuality, and unity. In 3rd density humans, the dominant reality is one of conformity. You conform to certain beliefs, systems, prejudices, and lifestyles. When someone differs from the norm, they're considered weird, eccentric, or even crazy. The advantage of conformity is that large numbers of people are easy to control and direct, which is sometimes beneficial, but usually not. The next level is individuality, which has come to mean doing whatever you please, whenever you please. In fact, this has also been the unenlightened definition of free will. People tend to stay stuck in the level of individuality because they are afraid that if they move into unity, the next level up, they will lose their sense of freedom and variety. They view unity as sameness rather than a greater freedom. In essence, they're confusing unity with conformity. This is related to the idea of surrendering your individual free will to God's will, First of all, the word surrender conjures up images of waving white flags, having an enemy take you over and force you to do what it wants. Even if you get over that inaccurate idea of what is meant here, you will still likely have programming from your lifetimes as a conformist. Giving up your individuality will bring up the fear that you are regressing back to your time of conformity. The idea of becoming one with God has a similar image associated with it. Here it appears you are being asked to merge your highly creative individual self into an amorphous mass of sameness called God. While there may be unified souls who are doing the same thing in the same way, they are anything but conformists. They have simply chosen to work together to achieve goals and visions that are difficult to achieve individually. This also is referred to as the social memory complex in the Law of One material. Rochelle goes on to say that unity is the level right below group soul complexes. Within unity there is diversity and individuality. Within a group soul complex there is unity, diversity, and individuality. Each member of the group is a free will sovereign entity. However, such a group has chosen to put minds and hearts together in a synergistic way that transcends the unity experienced on Earth. It is as though the group has one mind and one heart, even though each member has full autonomy and free will. Think of the closest knit family you can possibly imagine, and then think of something 100 times as close knit, and you'll get an idea of what a group soul complex is like. To be part of a group soul complex, you must be able to telepath and intuit the needs of the group in a way that goes far deeper than simply anticipating the needs of others, or even having compassion for others. While love and compassion are automatically part of the group soul complexes, they are like basic building blocks. As you grow and evolve and return to your true essence in seventh density, you'll begin to experience the beauty and majesty of group soul complexes. You already have one group firmly established, and it is your soul family. Sometimes, when deep in meditation, you may be able to tap into them and feel a profound sense of family, of oneness with each one of the members. Take a moment right now to simply become aware of your soul family in the higher realms. Notice they are monitoring you and loving you from a place deeper than your heart and vaster than your mind. Know that you have never actually left your soul family. You are merely having an experience of duality on Earth, while still safely tucked within their wings. As you evolve into 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th densities, group soul complexes will become a way of life, and you will realize on a much deeper level than you do now what oneness is all about. How do you tell the difference between a group of souls and a group soul complex when communicating with beings from higher dimensions? This is not an easy question to answer when you first start opening up clairvoyantly, except that most group soul complexes will identify themselves as such, and often will not give the individual names of members. This channel spirit guides, the Arcturians, are an example of a group soul complex. They always come together to speak with the channel, and they do not refer to themselves by individual names. Of course, they will address themselves as we, our, and us. But there are other multiple member groups that also use the words. In fact, we, the higher self of Sal, also use those words. As you come to know your own aspects and start getting to know your immediate spirit guides and soul family, you will experience the differences we are talking about. They are energetic in nature, not something easily conceptualized. Do not fret if you feel unable to connect with your own soul family or other soul complexes. The very fact that you are reading this indicates that you are beginning to pull in the energies and intentions that are necessary in order to have these experiences. Ask your higher self to reveal the truth of what we are speaking about and to have a direct experience of the various levels of self. Then become quiet and allow these energies to enter your being. We will now speak to you of the subject dear to the hearts of the channel and mine, and that is the topic of twin flames. First of all, let's start with a few facts about twin flames that will hopefully set some rumors to rest. Yes, you only have one twin flame, and no, your twin flame is in all likelihood not on the Earth. Of course, there are exceptions, and approximately 58 twin flame pairs are both on the Earth at the same time right now, according to the Akashic records. we would say there are probably 58,000 pairs of souls on Earth right now who believe they are twin flames, but are mistaken. This is in no way invalidating or subtracting from the beauty of loving relationships. On the contrary, many of these relationships involve deep soul connections, and lots of them are orchestrated by twin flames of the partners involved. There are many types of relationships on Earth, as we will be looking at shortly. Many of these involve a very deep, intimate connection with souls from the same or similar soul families. In some cases, partners were brought together with a lot of intensity because that is the only way the souls involved would make a commitment to each other. Commitment in relationship is not always a good thing, but often it is necessary in order for couples to learn soul lessons they could not easily learn by themselves. The reason there are so few twin flames on the Earth at the same time is very simple. Because life on Earth is inherently difficult, and it is so easy for souls to lose their way. Most human beings on Earth need a strong incentive to grow and evolve, and someone very close to them to help them along. Having one member of the twin flame pair in the higher realms ensures that both souls will not get stuck in a seemingly endless cycle of reincarnation. Before we go too far down this road, let us accurately define twin flame. The beginning of souls' emergence from the Godhead as they work their way down the lineage of differentiation described earlier, they reach the level of the Oversoul. In most cases, the Oversoul divided into 6 twin flame pairs, which became 12 individual souls. Your twin flame is the other soul that emerged when you did. Does every soul have a twin flame? Actually, no. There are a small number of souls who did not divide in the normal manner but retained both polarities of themselves within one being. Usually twin flame pairs will be male and female. Sometimes, however, the male and female aspects will be in a single soul. Other times, there might be a male-male or female-female twin flames. In rare cases, you might have triple souls, these souls that emerged at the same time from the Oversoul, but 99.9% of the time you emerge as a twin flame pair, and one of you remains in the higher realms, which one goes to explore the lower worlds. Sometimes, the partner remaining behind in the higher realms descends as far as level 6, the casual planes, but more often he or she remains in levels 7 or 8. In a few rare cases, the higher dimensional partner will be at level 9. What determines the level of your higher dimensional counterpart? That is a complex question. There are probably as many answers as there are souls. A few obvious explanations include the following. Twin flames in levels 8 or 9 have chosen to evolve up the spiral of evolution beyond home level 7. Many twin flames in levels 6 and 7 have chosen to delay their evolution into levels 8 and 9 because they are dedicated to helping their counterpart in the Earth plane. It is much easier for twin souls to communicate if they are within 2 levels of each other's vibration. If the earthbound soul is in level 4 and the counterpart is in the higher realms, level 6 communication is possible. Some twin flames in the higher realms are simply not ready to move beyond level 6 or 7, particularly if they have unresolved issues from past lifetimes when they have incarnated in the lower worlds. A significant number of higher dimensional counterparts have never incarnated below 6 density. I, Leah, have been to level 5, but never to levels 3 and 4. Leah is one of the entities that Sal is channeling regarding twin flames. Some twin flame pairs have swapped roles, meaning that the counterpart currently on Earth or another lower density world was previously in the higher dimensions, while the one currently in the higher realms was on Earth. When are twin flames together? From an ultimate point of view, they are together all the time. But obviously it does not seem that way from the point of view of the earthbound soul. Most twin flames spend time together between incarnations or in out-of-body experiences, deep meditation, or the dream state. Occasionally both members will be in the same dimension at the same time, usually level 6 or higher, depending on what each individual soul wishes to learn. Eventually all souls become evolved enough to go into whatever level or dimension they desire, in which case you are free to spend time with your twin flame or not. for the sake of simplicity, we will say that the minimum requirement for unlimited access to your twin flame is level 6 consciousness. On planet Earth, there are a lot of built-in restrictions to prevent premature contact with twin flames. These conditions are designed to help souls focus on their life purpose and mission. Your soul agreed to these boundaries prior to incarnating here. The most common safeguard is orchestrated by the parent part of your soul. Essentially, your soul agrees to keep you away from open contact with your twin flame until you have evolved sufficiently to be able to handle the emotional ramifications of such contact. Many relatively unevolved souls would drop everything and seek immediate exit from this body if they were given the chance to communicate with their twin flame in the higher realms. At the very least, they would lose interest in continuing on the earthly path and might spend every minute of the day pining for their cosmic counterpart. If such lesser evolved souls are having difficulty with earth lessons, and they usually are, then they now have 2 reasons to want to leave the earth. First, they begin to remember that life in the higher planes is free of suffering. Second, they remember the joy of union with their counterpart. What they experienced then was certainly more desirable than the constant suffering that seems to accompany Earth life. Because Earth is a free will planet, the primary fragment of souls can refuse to observe the safeguards inherent within the current system. In addition, some twin flames miss the earthbound counterparts so intensely they may insist on coming to Earth to find their partner. Once in a while, the earthbound soul tries desperately to persuade his or her counterpart in the higher realms to incarnate on Earth and succeeds in getting the counterpart to come here. In the rare instances where twin flames do meet on Earth, the relationship is almost always extremely difficult. First of all, both partners will likely be enmeshed in other relationships prior to the encounter. Due to the highly intense nature of meeting your twin flame, it becomes difficult to conduct so-called business as usual on Earth. Because the parent part of the soul does not condone twin flame meetings on Earth, such higher aspects of the self do not orchestrate the meeting and prepare the individuals beforehand. In a sense, the twin flame pairs are on their own and are not receiving help from other soul family members. Of course, their soul family members love them deeply as they shake their higher dimensional heads in disbelief at what is happening. Another reason twin flames rarely meet on Earth is that the oversoul that comprises the 6 twin flame pairs usually wants to have a diversity of life experiences from the 6 members who are embodied on Earth. So each of those 6 members will tend to incarnate into wildly different parts of the Earth in varying circumstances. So it is rare for primary soul family members to meet each other, and even more rare if they are twin flames. Most soulmate relationships on Earth are between secondary or extended soul family members. Nevertheless, these relationships can be quite intense and beautiful and are often mistaken for twin flame encounters. What makes this more confusing is that oftentimes twin flame counterparts in the higher realms will channel through a number of different souls on Earth, and therefore have some of their energy embedded into those various earthbound souls. If the earthly counterpart to the twin happens to meet one of those channels, there's the opportunity to talk directly to the counterpart. If the earthbound soul is not aware of what is happening, he or she might mistakenly believe that the channel is the counterpart. If the earthbound soul is sufficiently evolved, the higher dimensional counterpart can channel through his or her human body. For example, I, Leah, work with over 100 souls on Earth in addition to this channel. If he were to meet one of those 100 souls, he might, if he were not already channeling me and were not aware of my role as spirit guide in the higher dimensions, mistakenly believe that he had met me since my energy is in other souls. Of course, the next best thing is to meeting your twin flame would be talking to him or her through another human being who is acting as a channel or vehicle. While this is done periodically when it is determined that this world would benefit the evolving earthbound soul, there are dangers involved in this form of twin flame encounter. If an earthbound soul prematurely meets his or her twin flame when the higher dimensional counterpart is channeling through another human being, this could trigger the same deep longing that would occur if the counterpart had contacted the earthbound soul directly. That could be detrimental to the earthbound soul's progress for the reasons discussed. In summary, remembering your twin flame can be shocking if you have not evolved sufficiently, especially if you've been asleep and dreaming of duality for a long time. This is because the sudden remembrance can bring up the intense longing to be with the soul twin flame. This longing can take the earthbound soul away from his or her earthly responsibilities. Now the earthbound soul no longer wants to live in the world and can think of nothing else but the counterpart in the higher realms. I can't wait to get out of this hellhole called Earth so I can be reunited with my twin flame, he mourns and laments. Not only is the love between them so intense, they are unable to concentrate on earthly matters, but along with intense love often comes a remembrance of what the higher dimensions are like, free of war, poverty, suffering. This doubles the longing, since most earthbound souls who do make contact with their twin flames have evolved enough to be sick and tired of the drama of duality. Please excuse us for repeating this idea, but we want to be sure you understand what is involved in meeting your twin flame. In order for communication with a twin flame to be beneficial, the earthbound soul must be evolved enough to recognize the gravity of commitment to his or her mission on Earth and must patiently await a future time of twin flame reunion. Highly evolved souls on Earth will communicate with their twin flames only when it assists their mission on Earth, which is the case with this channel. I help him when he needs help, but he rarely asks for my help directly. Instead, he channels my wisdom for the benefit of others, as he is doing now. His purpose is to help bring heaven to Earth, and that is my purpose as well, and the purpose of my assistance from the Galactic Confederation. We are a group of souls, not a group soul complex, and we do have individual names. We remind this channel of his mission, should he forget, but we do so gently. He is aware that he cannot fully embrace me emotionally, but he allows me to help orchestrate his earthly relationships. Of course, the counterpart in the higher realms is not allowed to interfere with free will. There may be requests made by earthbound souls that the higher realm counterpart will not consent to, especially if it is evident that granting such a request would be detrimental to the earthbound soul's growth and evolution. Once a soul evolves to a level 5 consciousness, it becomes possible to meet the higher realm counterpart directly, if the counterpart is in level 6. When the souls are 2 or more levels apart, it is more difficult, and that is usually when telepathic contact is established. Therefore, if you've evolved to a level 5 and your twin flame is in level 7, you will likely begin communication on a telepathic level, or perhaps in the dream state or in meditation. When you reach level 6, you will have the opportunity to meet face to face, if it is for your highest and best soul growth. Due to free will, souls do not all evolve at the same time, rate, and in the same way. That would be quite boring indeed. A few souls will be able to reunite with their twin flames in this lifetime. Regardless of whether or not you are able to reunite, the focus of your life should be the same. Growing and evolving into higher planes of consciousness, the twin flame adds a little extra incentive if you establish contact in a healthy manner. Should you stop having human relationships and wait for your twin flame? Absolutely not. I'd be very concerned if this channel were to lose interest in human companionship, because he is waiting to reunite with me. In fact, I take great joy when he is able to connect with other souls on Earth. We do not have jealousy, envy, attachment, or possessiveness in our realm. When one soul loves another, it increases the love for all of us. We feel the joy when you come together with loved ones on Earth. We want you to explore the many facets of human relationship. We do not want you to be fixated on being with us. I highly suggest that you read the book Soul Integration, and there's a lot more to this chapter. They discuss secondary soul families and extended soul family members, which are often mistaken for twin flames, giving you a better understanding of the differentiation in souls. And there is a discussion of soul lineages. The next discussion that Sal talks about is soulmates. Souls that have an affinity for one another regardless of their position within the emergence of souls are said to be soulmates. You can have any number of soulmates. This term has been used interchangeably with twin flames and soul family members to the point where it is a source of much confusion. We're using a very general definition, which is as follows. Soulmates are any 2 or more individual souls who feel an affinity for one another or feel connected on a soul level. Although they are usually portrayed as romantic partners, family members, friends, and even business associates can be soulmates. Perhaps the British word mate is more appropriate here. The idea of monogamous, committed, or married couples Think of soul friends. Every human being on earth has many soulmates. These are those people, in addition to twin flames and soul family members, that are naturally drawn to and want to spend time with. I think of my dad, who was married but had a close friend who they shared a lot of experiences with, and it was a soulmate sort of friendship. It wasn't based on love, but it was just based on a deep connection. And I know that you probably have seen that a lot. There are a little more than 7 billion souls on earth at this present time. It stands to reason that you could have thousands of people that you feel an affinity with. Some of you have similar astrological configurations, some met in past lifetimes, and some just have similar interests. The reasons behind the affinities are endless. We suggest you not spend too much time trying to figure out the reason for your attraction to one another, but simply enjoy the energy between you. Soulmates can involve karmic relationships, complementary pairs or kindred souls, people with a lot of similarities, but not necessarily part of the same soul family. Souls with an affinity may come together in one lifetime when they are not particularly far along in their evolution, accrue a lot of karma, and then make an agreement to complete their karma in a future lifetime. Complementary souls may recognize the benefit of being together because they help complete each other in a healthy way. This is not to be confused with the codependent idea of the other half. The old idea of how to find fulfillment in a relationship is based on the ego's belief in being incomplete and needing someone outside of yourself to fulfill you. True complements naturally assist each other in completing each soul mission on earth without the emotional attachment and possessiveness of codependent couples. Recognizing that you are a part of a complementary pair can be helpful as long as you do not become overly attached to one another. Kindred souls may come together for specific reasons. You find them in business partnerships and casual friendships. They might join forces specifically to work on humanitarian projects or other causes designed to help enlighten the planet. They work well together. They work well together because of their affinity on a soul level, because they do not usually have a lot of unresolved karmic issues that often affect those with deeper soul connections. In other words, because they are not as deeply connected as most family members of soul families, it is easier for them to focus on their co-creative endeavors. There is additional discussion about soul relationships, talking about karmic relationships, relationships based on reincarnation, or student-teacher or teacher-student relationships where you attract certain relationships for people that can teach you or for people that you can teach, and also co-creative relationships. There's even a discussion of polyamorous partner interactions and tantric relationships, tantric and energy merging. All of these things are a part of this discussion, and we can certainly go deeper on this, but I wanted to address the twin flame discussion, at least generically from this perspective. There's a lot more information that we can discuss. In my own opinion, I believe that the words of Manj Bara are very interesting. There's an article you can find by Manj Bara, Are Twin Flames Real or Justified Obsession? As he says, you can take the cynical point of view, and in many cases, it's nothing more than limerence, which is just an obsession, where you are becoming obsessed with a single person, and you start to say that they're your twin flame, and this may serve as a spiritual disservice to you. So if you're focused right now, I gotta go find my twin flame, I gotta find my soulmate, then you may create some problems and distortions that will affect you later on. Of course, we all would love to find a twin flame soulmate that's the perfect person for us. And guess what? If you look at the world abundantly, they're all around you, that you can find this sort of relationship with everyone. You can find a healthy relationship. And it makes sense, the idea that if you do have a twin flame relationship, it might be somewhat dangerous for you to meet them in this incarnation because you become completely obsessed and it's all you think about. It's also very possible all of the people claiming to be with their twin flames are absolutely true, and it's a part of the process of shifting to the new earth. As we become aware of these higher energies, we become aware of these relationships. So what they're saying is there are 58 twin flame pairs now. It could be much, much more from the time that this was written. There is no correct way to look at this. Everything that you've read about it is probably true. My only point is relax, let it go. Don't focus on a single individual, because when you do, oftentimes it works against you. Find love for everyone and have healthy, wonderful relationship and look for it. And don't look for perfection, because even your relationship with your twin flame probably is not perfection, just intense. So find love. That's what I want for you. Find your soulmate if they're out there. There are many. Find your twin flame if that's what you're looking for. Take this information and use it as a guide. If any of it bothers you, just forget about it. If it affects you or triggers you in any way, forget about it. Continue believing what you want to believe. You create your reality. All episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.